Dr. Ines Abdel Razek. She's an advocacy director at the Palestine Institute for Public Diplomacy and joins me live from occupied East Jerusalem. Good to speak to you, Ines. Just take us through how Palestinians are really feeling at the moment about what's happening. So many of the images that we've seen are really young people protesting for change. How are they feeling?
Yes, thank you for inviting me. The Palestinian youth is rightfully angry, as your invitee before me said. People want freedom; they want their rights. And they have clearly a vacuum when it comes to the Palestinian leadership. They've been really living under the ruling of the Israeli occupation and annexation over the past decade. So all the young people have never seen really a Palestinian national liberation movement active in Jerusalem, and they're under really the boot of the Israeli authorities, and they are born with unequal rights. They see that their city is taken from them, house by house. They've been neglected for years. East Jerusalem neighborhoods are completely abandoned when the Israeli government is not aiding directly the settler organizations to take over their homes. So they had enough. And, the Israeli spokesperson said, peace and calm. But for them, what peace and calm means is that it just goes back to Palestinians being quietly oppressed and repressed every day and having their rights denied. So they're rightfully angry.
Yeah, that's well put, a quiet oppression that so many young Palestinians, it's all that they know. And, some analysts, when they talk about what's happening there, they talk about the collective trauma of displacement for both Palestinians and Jews. That's generational. And it's something that extends to young Palestinians who know no other way of being. But with all of that said, what then is the role of Palestine's political leadership, or some would say lack thereof at the moment?
Yeah, it's clear that the Palestinian youth, feels orphan of Palestinian representation. Most Palestinians want a renewal in Palestinian representation and leadership, but the leadership is clearly not ready. It feels absent. And specifically in Jerusalem, people were not engaged in the overall electoral process that was discussed in the past few weeks and months. And they feel that the Palestinian Authority is more part of the problem and part of the coordination with the Israeli security forces rather than the solution. So they think they need to stand up for themselves, and they need to defend their rights, with popular movement and struggle, and stand up for their rights in the few public spaces that remain for them. So the Esplanade, the Haram al-Sharif, and Damascus Gate are one of these points where they still can gather, but unfortunately the Israeli forces only see Palestinians the day they were born as either a security threat or a demographic threat, and so they're ready to attack.
Ines, the organization you work for and yourself, what do you want to see happen here in order for real, tangible change to be seen in this region?
I think it's first, the narrative is very important. We need to stop seeing this as, it's both sides, it's two sides, it's like two camps that are confronting each other. There is a regime, there is a system, there is a state that is legitimized and normalized, that is effectively controlling a population and denying their most fundamental rights, whether individual rights or collective rights, national rights, cultural rights. And so this has to change. Recently, Human Rights Watch has clearly also called what Palestinians have been calling for a long time, that this is apartheid. And I think this is what the struggle should be like. And a lot of the Palestinians want really to just defend their rights. They don't really care whether it will be in one state or two states. What they see is that they're born unequal. There is a colonial state that continues to try and replace them and evict them from their neighborhoods and replace them with Jewish settlers. This is what they see. And so I think the solution is first changing that narrative. And second, international accountability. Israel needs to be held accountable for its continuous violations of international law and human rights since 1948. And I think this is really critical, because the impunity that, the culture of impunity that has been rising and has been continuously strengthened by Israel is only reinforced by the lip service that is paid to a peace process or negotiations or this kind of discourse that is empty of any consequences. So for so long, the international community has been incapable of enforcing the possibility of a two-state solution, now it's really about holding accountable Israel into respecting Palestinian rights and international law. Otherwise, things won't change.
Ines Abdel Razek, it's fantastic to get your insight on this. Thank you so much.